Welcome back to our next segment. We've got Charles Yang. He is the founder of a really cool initiative, the Center for Industrial Strategy, and they are looking to place engineers in the government to do good stuff. Tell us more about what you're building.
First, gents, thanks for having me on. Basically, I spent some time in government with the engineering sort of technical background, and one of the things that really surprised me was how few engineers there are in government, especially when we're working on things like grants and loans for manufacturing and critical mineral projects. Understanding how those projects actually work is obviously super important. And for my time there, I would say, there's a few technical people who made all the difference in the world in selecting good projects versus selecting bad projects. And when I left, I figured we need way more people like that. And who is working on getting more engineers and helping them understand and plug into the policymaking ecosystem? And I became convinced that we should just do something. And so we're launching the Knudsen Industrial Strategy Fellowship. It's open right now, and you guys should definitely all apply.
Charles, the Knudsen Fellowship. So this is the namesake is really cool here. I want to touch on this. There's been an interesting year. We've covered some of the direct commissioning stuff that the military's tried to do, trying to bring in folks
awesome.
like the CTOs of Palantir and OpenAI, really high-flying people. William Knudsen, one of the originals. Tell us about the namesake of the fellowship.
Yeah. Would plug the Freedom Forge book if your listeners haven't already read it. But William Knudsen, he was an auto executive. He spent his growing up, I think he was like shaping metal when he was like a teenager and ended up as one of the auto execs at the big three. And when World War II hadn't even broken out, the U.S. hadn't even declared war yet, but obviously conflict was on the rise in Europe, he was commissioned into the army to help boost industrial production. And he was, I think, commissioned at one of the highest levels that a civilian has ever been directly commissioned at. But he played a huge role in helping convert America's factories into an arsenal of democracy. And I think we need that spirit again of engineers and talented private sector people who raise their hand and say, hey, I want to serve my country. And I think we've seen a lot of that already in this administration, but I think there's certainly more that can be done to that effect. And so that's part of why we're trying to build out this fellowship and raise the next generation of William Knudsens.
What are the biggest structural barriers, if you could wave a magic wand and fix something, that's stopping the talent from coming into the government? Is it money?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it just interest, awareness? What do you think it is?
Yeah. I would say one big thing is just government is super illegible, right? When you look at the tech world, right, there is so many tokens out on the internet, right? All the Paul Graham essays, like all these little blogs, everyone writes up, here's how I learned to raise, here's how I hire, what's a PM, like how do you talk to VCs? There's so much out there on the internet. There's like very little about how does an agency work? What does an agency do? What is what is a cool vision for what you could do within an agency? And it doesn't help. And actually the Trump admin is actually starting to reform some of this, which I think is good, around even the job titles, right? Like I was what was my official title? Like management and program analyst. What is that, man? And that's all their job titles. It's just like really generic things. So like there's a lot of small things even like that. But I think a large part of it is just what do people actually do in government? And why is it cool and compelling? Hot take maybe, I don't think pay is actually a big deal. I did take a pay cut going into government, and I think we should pay people more, but I was living a very comfortable life. Where we probably should pay people more is in Congress, actually, I would say. And this has been a well-known fact since like LBJ. The executive branch is paid much better than the Hill staff. Starting salary for a congressional staffer is $45K or something, or $50K, something really bad. And it's all like poli-sci majors, basically. And if you're like writing legislation on the DOE authorization for like critical minerals, you should probably pay a little bit more than $45K a year and maybe have a technical background in wealth. There's some people working on this for like tech policy. There's actually a lot of tech policy fellowships, but I think we want to help do this for the industrial sector as well. So that's the vision.
I want to dive deeper into the fellowship itself, Charles, because as you said, this has been... There have been focus on bringing technical, doing these rotations. There's Tech Congress. There was the U.S. Digital Service for a while. There's lots of ways to bring people in government. Your specific fellowship, give us the 5 W's. Like what is going on? What are you trying to accomplish? How long is it? Where is it? And then who should actually be applying to this?
For sure. Yeah. And I should say Tech Congress, U.S. Digital Service were both amazing programs. And I think we're taking some inspiration for the number of tech policy fellowships that have already been sprung up in the past 10 years to applying it towards the industrial sector. So quick details. It's a 10-week program. It's remote, so anyone can apply. There will be some readings that you'll have to do, and we'll have some guest speakers from DC who are deep in the industrial policy space that you can talk to and meet with. And then we'll have a nice little field trip at the end. We'll bring you all out to DC. Folks will be able to like chat with people and get a better on the ground sense of what's going on. Applications close in almost a little under 2 weeks, so plenty of time to still apply. We'll actually release the reading list probably next week just to keep folks engaged and interested in what's going on. And they'll also do some policy memo writing. So that's another piece of the fellowship. So in addition to doing the reading, talking with people, actually like getting a hands-on feel for what is writing a policy memo like, and we'll have some folks walk fellows through that as well. Who's it for? If you are interested in industrial policy and want to put in some work and meet some other cool people who are interested in it, that's one part. And if you have some sort of like technical industry experience, I think broadly understood, if you've ever worked with your hands on anything, if you've ever been in some niche industry that you feel like is really misunderstood by DC, even if you've worked in investment, I think that's another area where like understanding capital flows is really important. And I think there's a lack of that understanding as well at times. So even financiers or investors, I think would also be welcome here. We are basically looking to bring people who are like not broadly construed from the swamp or from this existing ecosystem and are like part of these outside actual private sector worlds.
And how do we think about two things? This is full-time, so they're going to have to take a leave of absence from their job, or...
Oh, no, this is remote.
Remotely.
Remote, 1 hour, we'll have 1 hour a week synchronous, and we'll have a couple hours of reading and writing async, but this is totally compatible with your existing job. And we'll do, the field trip will be like a Friday, Saturday, so you'll have to like, take a day off, but it'll be super fun, so it'll be worth it.
Cool. And if this fixes, I think it starts to fix the top of the funnel problem, how do we then follow through after this and make sure we get these people into the government actually once we leave this?
Yeah.
Not asking you to solve everything.
Well, we will have some folks, how should I say this? We'll have some folks who are plugged into the admin who can help bring folks in. I'll just say that broadly. I think the other sort of structural issue that we want to address, first, you need people, right? Just like building out the talent pipeline. The other main structural issue, and this is something I'm still thinking about, how do we address, it's more cultural than anything, is how do you actually elevate people to have the scope of responsibility to accomplish their mission, right? It's like, there's one thing, like, I want to go to government and help solve critical minerals. Like, it's divided across a bunch of different offices. There's a bunch of different kinds of roles. How do we like find the right role and make sure that people actually are able to accomplish sort of the mission that they've been given? I think this admin actually has done a really good job of that. Maybe not necessarily on the right missions all the time, but Doge is an example of what happens when you elevate people with responsibility and let them do things. They can move very quickly. Maybe I'd wish they'd moved quickly on maybe a different set of priorities initially, but I think that's one example of what happens when you give people that sort of responsibility. I think we need more of that accountability in government. That's a cultural issue. I don't really know how to address that, but I think first building out the talent pipeline, just getting folks in and getting more people experienced in working inside the bureaucracy is a great first step.
Awesome, Charles. It is definitely a great first step. I love the focus, and it's flexible. So it's such a great teaser for people who are curious and want to explore something without quitting their jobs, moving across the country. Love to see it. All right, Charles. So before we let you go, just zoom out a bit and just give us that top view of the Center for Industrial Strategy. What should we expect to see from you guys in the weeks and months ahead? What are you really excited about? What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, our broad goal is to build a bipartisan coalition around reindustrialization. And so we've been doing a lot of private behind-the-scenes stuff, holding some dinners that are all bipartisan and working with different partners. This fellowship, I think, will be a lot of great stuff coming out of that, from the policy memos the fellows will be writing and the field trip we'll be hosting at the end of the year. But we'll have a few more sort of public-facing stuff around different parts of the conversation in energy, critical minerals, and I think hopefully trying to provide some of that analysis that we think is also missing from the ecosystem. But the funny thing about the policy world is a lot of it is just talking to people, I guess I would say broadly. But I think this fellowship is going to be a really great way to meet some interesting new people and hopefully help bring them into the conversation.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Fantastic, Charles. We are excited. The deadline for the fellowship is September 26th. Get those applications in. We'll link in the comments and in the show notes. Charles, thanks for making some time to chat with us, and we are excited to have you back on here soon. There's lots of good things ahead for the center and for the fellowship, no doubt.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.